Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is TheSketchMonkey here. I'm back here at ClearShift to have a look at this beast of a machine. I wanted to review this for a while now, and finally I get my hands on a Ram TRX 6.2 liter supercharged V8, 702 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. However, is this still the king of performance trucks? Because now we have the Ford F-150 Raptor R, also with a V8 and also 700 horsepower, and that does 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. But as you know me, I like to talk about design, and I chose a Ram Rebel for my personal truck for a reason. Mainly that reason was the design. So we're going to talk about the front end, the side, the rear, and the interior, and then we're going to take this beast for a drive. And this is for sale right here at ClearShift for about $90,000, and I'm going to link that down in the description. Thanks to ClearShift just outside of Denver for providing this truck for me to review for you guys today. If you want to have a look at this truck and their entire inventory, just head to clearshift.com or click the link down in the description. So let's start with the front end design of the Ram TRX, and why I personally decided to go with the Rebel myself is because I love the front end of this thing. Not a lot of people like this, or there are some people who don't like this new mustache that came with this generation of Ram 1500, specifically the Rebel and the TRX. I personally think that it gives the car a little bit of personality and not just have a straight line at the bottom. And this grille here compared to the Rebel is also extended, so these doesn't go down as far as we have on the Ram Rebel, and I think this looks better. The Rebel looks great, but I think this just looks more sporty, and we also have the wider fenders in both the front and the rear with this intake right here to create this wide stance of the TRX. In addition to the wider grille compared to the Rebel that we have here on the TRX, we also have wider headlights. So these headlights come straight from the limited Ram 1500, and as you can see, to make it a little bit more menacing, they've blacked the housing out to have the same kind of black features all over this truck. I love that there's no chrome on this truck. It's super aggressive in the front end, and I also love these cheekbones that we have with the body color cutting into the front end, similar to what we have on the Rebel as well. Although everything on the Rebel has this front face, but it is a little higher with the graphics in the front. There are so many details in the front end I want to talk about, so let's continue here with this logo, for example, that has been hollowed out to allow for more air flowing through the letters itself on the front end. You have the front end camera mounted right in the center. And down here, a proper metal skid plate at the bottom for when you decide to take this on the trails. Up top on the hood here, we have these position lights, because as you know, if the car itself is wider than 80 inches, you need to have those position lights at the very top of the grille, which adds to the coolness, in my opinion, of the Ram TRX. Another detail that I love about the Ram TRX front end are these intakes that we don't have on any other Ram, not even the Rebel, because we have the wider fenders that allowed for Ram to put in these intakes right here, which I think looks absolutely beautiful with the housing of the light fading into this section of the car. Now coming around to the side view of the Ram TRX, you can clearly see the wider fenders that we have here bulging out in the front end, going all the way to the back. What I love about these Ram trucks, again, when it comes to the design, is I think they are the best proportions of any 1500 truck. I think they just look perfect, and with the graphics in the front end and the taillights here as well, brings everything together in a very beautiful way. One detail that this TRX is equipped with is this proper side step right here. I wish I had these type of styles instead of the one that I have on my Rebel with this sort of like a bar going along the side. This looks a lot more integrated in the design. And then let's talk about these wheels and tires. So you have 35-inch tires from factory. They don't come with 37s like you could have on the Raptor, so that might be a decision for you to choose a Raptor if you want to go with that. 35-inch in height, and the wheels themselves are 18-inch. Remember the positioning lights that we have in the hood? You also need to have those on the very furthest body piece that you have on any car that's wider than 80 inches. You can see that we have that right here integrated in the fender itself. I think it looks pretty cool and decently integrated. It does have a bit nice of a chamfer going around it. And up here you have the TRX logo. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but it is here. It's a TRX sticker which I think I would probably option for because I just think it looks cool to have this gloss black and contrast with the matte logo up top. Coming around to the back end of the Ram TRX, and first of all, can we just appreciate that we live in a time where both Ram and Ford are actually creating beasts, like proper trucks with over 700 horsepower. I think it's just such a cool idea to put into production. But we have the same type of styling, clean styling in the rear that we have in the front end. And just have a look at these bazooka chimneys right here that we have as exhaust pipes in both the sides, symmetrical. Another reason why I went with the Ram Rebel. Details like that matters to me, might not matter to anybody else, but I wanted to have two bazooka tailpipes in the rear end, just like we have here. I think it looks so good. So remember the positioning lights that we have in the front end, you need to have that in the rear as well. And you can see that right here. It's a pretty interesting location for the positional lights of the truck, to have them kind of tucked in underneath the tailgate right here. But what I love about the styling of the tailgate itself, you see this line here. In the previous generation Ram, this line used to be all straight, but they decided to have some fun. The designers had some fun with that line and created a curvature for it going down here, creating a little bit of, maybe I wouldn't call it elegance in a Ram TRX, but it just adds some more interesting features to the truck that I think just looks better than having it be a straight line. Another detail that's very nice on the rear end of the TRX is these Ram letters that you have big stamped across the entire deck lid. And if you decide to go with the split tailgate here, this goes away and you only get a Ram logo in the middle. I would, the same thing there. I would not choose the split option because I want to have the Ram logos like they are right here, stamped out, instead of having just a Ram logo centered right in the middle. And just like we have the wider fenders in the front end, we also have a lot wider, bulger fenders going in the rear compared to the Rebel. And that means that we are allowed to put a bit of an air duct right here, just like we have in the front end for the headlights. You can see that the end point of the wider piece ends right here and creating this beautiful cutout of the fender itself. I think it's a nice touch and definitely sets the TRX apart from the Rebel. Welcome to the inside of the Ram TRX, and this is a very familiar place to me because it looks pretty much like the Ram Rebel that I have, but there are a couple of changes here. For example, we have a proper gear lever here in the center instead of this rotary thing that I have in the Rebel. I think I maybe prefer this. I think this is more traditional. It feels a little more natural to use this. And then we also have the shift pedals connected to the 8-speed automatic in this truck. Gonna be interesting to see how quickly they react. I really like how they extend all the way above and then below the spokes on the side here. And in the middle, the infotainment screen, this is the 12-inch screen that we have here with the volume knobs and physical buttons for all the climate controls, and that's exactly what you want, isn't it? And then you have the vents as well being located right next to this screen. Super easy to adjust and to find anything you want in here. One thing that I wish I had in my Rebel is the camera view for the rear mirror up here. So this is not just a mirror. You can use it as a mirror, but if you want, you can also turn on the camera, rear view camera. Such better visibility when you have that in a truck this size. And I love the red stitching that we have in this interior. These seats, similar seats to what I have, just with some red stitching on the sides. Down here we have some wireless charging, and we have 2 USB slots and 2 USB-C slots down here as well. If you're deciding to put something on a trailer bag behind this truck, you have the controls and trailer brakes right here for that. And then you have the transmission settings right here. You have 4-wheel auto, 4-wheel high, 4-wheel drive low, and axle lock. There's also this button up top for the driving modes of this specific TRX truck, which I think looks really cool. Up top, you have a big panoramic sunroof looking massive. And as you know, this is one piece that I would not option for because I have traumatic experiences with leaking from a big panoramic roof like this, so I would not want to go through that headache again. But it looks cool. And then we have a glove box up top and also a bigger glove box right here at the bottom. Going over the doors, very nice design, very functional, a lot of storage in the doors themselves with the Harman & Kardon sound system on this specific truck. And I love that we have some Alcantara stitch into the door and also here in the center armrest. It just feels nice. You have 2 types of openings for the center armrest. You have the top one on, and then the lower handle opens up the whole thing, the big storage in the center. However, one thing you can't do here that I can do in the Rebel is to slide this section back and forth, and that is of course because we have a static gear shifter, whilst the Rebels use this dial that we have mounted up here. And you also have two beautiful looking cup holders in the center. Moving on to the gauge cluster, it's a very clean design of this gauge cluster. As you know, we have a nice housing for it with the nice trim going around the gauges, and I don't mind that the gauge, the tachometer and the speedometer and the fuel gauge are all analog. This is kind of my preference, this setup exactly, with having a pretty large screen, in this case a 12-inch, but it is also a large vehicle. But then we have a pretty decent sized screen in the middle, positioned in between the tachometer and the speedometer for showing you every information you need, while still keeping the key dials analog with some beautiful housing for these dials themselves inside of the gauge cluster. So let's jump into the back seat and check out the space back there. Okay guys, climbing into the back seat of the Ram TRX, and this is like a living room back here. Obviously tons of space. Love the red stitching that we have on this handle here, making it feel a little special compared to other Ram 1500s. You also have Alcantara on the seats and on the doors, just like we have in the front. And you have some USB slots right here. You have two USBs and two USB-Cs with some climate control settings for the rear passengers as well, and some very easy accessible vents to switch that out. And you also have a 12-volt house outlet in the middle. Perfect. You know what? That's enough talk about design, interior features, and what have you. Let's talk about the engine here, the 6.2 liter supercharged V8. Let's fire it up and let's see what this sounds like. Listen to that supercharger whine. All right guys, we're driving the Ram TRX. I have it in manual mode now. Let's see what it can do. I love supercharger noise. It just sounds so good. And to have this power, 700 horsepower in a full-size truck, is nuts. But I love that it came out of the factory like that, specifically with the 35-inch wheel, something that I had to put on my Rebel to fill out the wheelhouses. But here, it comes like that from the factory, so well done, Ram. Now let's talk about these pedals, for example. I'm not a huge fan of the pedals in the TRX because I think the distance that it moves is too long, and I'm probably just gonna have it. If I were to own this truck, I would probably just keep it in automatic for 95% of the time. I actually just now noticed that I have a head-up display. It shows me what road I'm on, the speed, and the speed limit. Pretty much everything you need from a head-up display, otherwise it gets too cluttery. Man, this whine, this noise that we're hearing from the superchargers is definitely a noise that I'm gonna miss when all of these don't have them anymore, probably for the next generation of both the Challenger and the TRX. The thing is, if you were to pick one, would you pick a Ram TRX over the Ford F-150 Raptor R? I'm not sure which one I would pick because they both look, the new F-150 looks absolutely fantastic. Wasn't a huge fan of the previous generation, but compare the designs, I think they're equal. So it kind of depends on what your taste is. And you also get the full digital gauge cluster in the Ford F-150, which you don't have here. Personally, I don't care about that. So which one would I pick? I would probably still go with the Ram because I just love the Ram truck designs, even though this is a bit older than the F-150. But I still love the way that it sounds, everything. It's a spectacle when you're driving the TRX. Another reason why I decided to go with the Ram Rebel is the rear suspension. We have leaf springs on pretty much every other truck than the Rams, and I wanted that for the comfort. I know I'm never gonna use the full payload of the truck, so I decided to go a little bit more comfort in the rear end, and that helps with the regular springs that we have in the Ram trucks. Big thanks again to ClearShift for providing this TRX for me to review for you guys. I'm gonna link this down in the description if you're interested in this, or if you're interested in any other truck or SUV they have in their inventory. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. If you like these type of videos, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next video.